And this is a trade where I made money, so it's not a bad trade, but it is kind of an annoying trade because look what happened right after price trailed back and stopped me out. Has this ever happened to you guys? And the reason I show you this is because I just, like on my YouTube channel, it is exhausting to try and hide the reality and try and claim you're some sort of perfect guru and, oh, I would have known to do this or whatever. I didn't know it was going to turn around and keep going like this. We had some bearish news come out while I was sleeping and ended up stopping me out there for a profit. So things were good in this trade. But again, this is 2 trades this week where, yes, I made money on both trades, but it was also frustrating because it's like, okay, well, I took some profit, but I left a lot out there. And this is the reality of my trading style, is this happens to me a lot. I take small profits, whereas, you know, it's because I try and let the trade run. And occasionally, I know that it's like I'm pointing these out and saying, and you're like, well, Nick, why don't you just take profits more often? You're making so much money up there. Why not just take profit when it's going well? And the reality is that what I'm not telling you is that occasionally when I take a trade like this, it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it keeps going, and I make a lot more money on those rare occasions where things go really well because I'm willing to hold on to a trade patiently and trail stops. Again, it's very frustrating when it doesn't work, but that's sort of the patience that I got to pat myself on the back because I'm disciplined enough at this point to try and hold those trades to working out well. Again, doesn't look good this week because there's 2 examples where it didn't work out well, but you know, just sharing you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes. Whatever you do, you have to look forward. You can't just sit there and be regretful or anything like that. Because I know a lot of you guys probably struggle with the same thing that I do, which is beating yourself up after a trade as if you would have known with certainty what was going to happen. None of us do, and that's okay. You don't need to know every little bit to make money in markets. And when you see them, you will see them in your trading career. You will see the people who do the opposite. They claim they are perfect. They claim they know everything. They claim that they're so all intelligent about the markets. And those are the people that low-key are losing money and never going to tell you that. But that's just the reality. The market's humble traders who think that they know everything, and they reward people who are patient enough and disciplined enough to think that they can be wrong. Generally, what I do is with my trading, my fundamental analysis guides my technical analysis. So the first thing I do is I go through my process of looking through the fundamentals, which a lot of which is posted on my website. And then with that bias, I then look for technical setups, and I guess also sentiment analysis. So all 3 of these components go into my trading. So I start with the fundamentals. I've seen people who, you know, I don't mean to laugh at the people, but we've seen plenty of times, we've talked about on stream, people who are like shorting uptrends just because it seems quote unquote too high and it should reverse soon, right? That's a very dangerous strategy. What comes up in trading does have to go down, but it doesn't have to come down at any certain point. It can go up for a long time and then come down, right? There is 100% always a pullback. The problem is we don't know exactly when that pullback is going to be, right? The markets never move in a straight line forever, but they can move in a straight line a lot longer than you may expect. But for small trading accounts, this thing, in my opinion, should not even be touched. This thing for small trading accounts is like totally gambling, because even if you are generally right, because the volatility is so high, if it just goes against you a little bit, it can blow your account. So just my opinion, Robert. I'm not here to shame you. I mean, we're all learning, we're all improving. But I do think that staying away from some of these indices is probably best for people with small accounts. It is not advertised that way. You see people on YouTube, you see people on the internet saying, oh, trade NAS, trade, you know, the DAX, trade the US 30, you're gonna make a bunch of money. And the reality is, nah, bro. That is a quick way to lose a lot of money if you don't have a strategy and a very, very, you know, you see, even when the stop loss is in place on some of these bigger volatile pairs, or not pairs, but markets, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble very, very quickly. Please remember, a lot of times when people watch my streams or they just look for trades themselves, they're so focused on getting the perfect entry, right? They're so focused on that they don't they miss the rest of the trading concept, right? It's more about, well, how much are you risking? Where are you going to determine that you're going to be wrong? What are you going to do if price goes in your favor? How are you going to let that winner become are you going to let it be a big winner? Are you going to take partial profits, right? Those questions that you should ask yourself are probably way more important than just, hey, where do I get in? I'm telling you, like, entries are what's cool in markets. Like, everybody wants to talk about, oh, I knew to get in right here because it was the best, support zone, or, the stock was going to turn around because they had a new CEO and I knew it. And right, everybody wants to talk about the entry because it makes you look like a hero. But the thing that actually makes you a successful trader is not just getting the right entry. It's about, well, once you're into a trade, that's great, but how do you actually convert a good entry or a bad entry or whatever into a profitable trading strategy overall? Again, I could say it again and again and again. People don't care. Entries are overhyped, in my opinion, when it comes to trading. Everybody wants to get the perfect entry. In my case, what I'll say is, okay, I like this area. I'm going to look for a long setup, maybe on the lower time frames. If I get it, yeah, I'll enter. If I'm right, I'm going to let that trade become a big winner if I'm really right. And if I'm wrong, I'm just going to stop out and I'm just going to look for another opportunity to enter, maybe at a better location. But again, I'm not going to fixate on, okay, I gotta align the stars and I gotta make everything picture perfect before I enter the trade so that when I enter it goes right into profit. I think it's a little bit too idealistic, because the reality is it is impossible to get the perfect entry every single time. The markets have a lot of noise and they have a lot of volatility. So to me, it's better to get a generally good entry and look for better ways to exit trades and manage positions and manage trading psychology than just looking at where do I get in, right? So just a little side rant for you today when it comes to entries. Again, entries are like the most important thing to a newer trader, and as people get better at trading, they realize, yeah, the entry is important, but it's not the only thing. G says, do you still backtest, Nick, even if you are already profitable? G, that's a great question. Do I still backtest? Yes, I do, because backtesting for me, G, you know what? You're gonna put me on another rant, man, or female. I'm not sure if you're a guy or girl, but either ways, you're gonna put me on another rant, because now I got to figure out, when it comes to backtesting, yes, I still backtest to this day, because I find backtesting it's not a perfect way to know if a strategy is going to work into the future, but it's probably one of the best ways that we can use, right? If you go test a concept, for example, on the pound Swiss, right? And you backtest it for 5 years. And then you say, hey, this strategy seems to work really well. It's been through a multitude of different sort of market environments, high volatility, low volatility, and it's done okay. Then that gives me some level of confidence in my trading strategy. So yes, I do still backtest to this day to sort of refine any sort of major changes in markets. I'll give G one more example. When 2020 started to happen and we had volatility spikes that were just super crazy, one of my strategies that performed well for the year prior started to perform pretty poorly. And I ended up closing out, that account was up 20%. So here's what happened. I had a larger account size. It was up 20%. Before 2020, like 2019 and December area, I was up like 20%. What ended up happening is volatility spiked like crazy to a degree that was very, very unusual during 2020. And so I ended up giving back about 10% of that profit on the account and shutting the account down. And you might say, well, Nick, you should have known that your strategy wouldn't work in this high volatility. And that is exactly why I shut it down, is because once volatility spiked, I knew that my strategy probably wasn't going to do incredibly well in such a high volatile environment. And that was just a place where I was just honest with myself. I said, hey, this strategy works really well in low volatility, but I'm going to shut it off and I'm just going to take 10% profits on this account, which I know is not that great. But you also have to remember that in 2020, markets went down 30%. People lost tons and tons of money. So I was happy to walk away with profit on the year. So again, it all is perspective.